Look, the starting point for this is to remember that the bedrock of democracy is free speech. And every time we talk about an incursion on free speech, we need to think very carefully, and the community needs to be involved in that deliberation. And that's exactly what we are doing here. We recognise, we see that the legislation as Labor had put it in place was going too far. And that free speech is something that we should cherish and we should think about very carefully. But community consultation is the right way to go about getting the ultimate right outcome on something like this.
Pat Conroy, do you think that this change would still offer adequate protection to people from, well, intimidation and vilification?
No, I don't, because it's a significant narrowing of what was there previously. The previous clauses have been working very well for many years. Most cases are resolved by conciliation, but they provide vital protection against racism and bigotry, something that the Attorney General disgracefully yesterday supported in terms of bigoted speech. We see that this is a very narrowing of the clauses, including intimidation, which only restricts it to physical intimidation, so other forms of intimidation on a racial basis are allowed, which is just appalling.
But it will go to community consultation. Are you welcoming that?
Well, obviously, but the community has already spoken. I would submit that we've seen some very diverse groups saying that any changes to 18C in particular will invite more racism and more bigotry.
But we're seeing just as many groups saying that free speech is fundamental to our society and incursions on free speech should be limited. Look, the notion that we're in support of bigotry is just extraordinary. Labor has a view that you can legislate the way people behave every minute of the day, and you can't. Bigotry is bad.
Has been going for 20 years.
Just let me finish. Bigotry is bad. We all know that. The question is how best to stop it, and you can't legislate these things constantly as Labor believes.
Isn't that what they've been doing for 20 years?
Well, look, they have, and this is one of the problems.
Well,
I mean, at the end of the day, we've got to protect free speech. Someone has to stand up for
Angus, how is it a problem? We curtail free speech in limited circumstances all the time because society says it's not right to defame someone. Society says it's not right to use offensive language, and I think most of society says it's not right to humiliate people on the basis of their race.
And we're saying it's not right to intimidate and vilify.
Yeah, but not humiliate or abuse. That's okay.
Well, no, we're not saying it's okay. We're saying that legislation is not the answer for a test which is a phrase which is as subjective as offence and insult.
And that's an important distinction, because that is what George Brandis said yesterday when he said people do have a right to be bigots. Although those comments have gone fairly viral, he was making the point that it shouldn't be illegal for people to be insulted, because what is an insult to one person may not be to another.
But we shouldn't be condoning through weakening the legislation, humiliating people based on their race. This is what this legislation is about, weakening those laws, all because of Andrew Bolt, when we've got clauses that have been working very well for the last 20 years.
Only the Labor Party would think a failure to legislate is condoning something. Really, that's extraordinary.